Buddy, couple questions for Dana. Dana, this fight, as you said earlier in the week, is set to be the third highest gate in combat sports history, the second biggest gate you've promoted alongside Mayweather-McGregor. The top 5 gates in combat sports history come in boxing, and they come in the last 10 years. So my question to you is, why then do you want to make sweeping changes to the Muhammad Ali Reform Act that is meant to protect fighters to bring about a business model that currently has your company already paid out $375 million in antitrust lawsuits and has 2 potential pending class action lawsuits on the way as well?
Well, this is obviously a long discussion. If you want to talk to me about that, set up an interview. This isn't about me and my business. It's about these 2 guys on Saturday night.
My follow-up, Dana. Earlier this week, the California State Athletic Commission had a hearing about TKO trying to bring those changes to the Ali Act, and it was postponed 3 months.
Listen, I get it. You want to showboat right now. Set up an interview with me if this is really what you want to talk about.
It's America, baby.
If you have questions for these 2, ask them and you can set up an interview with me.
Dana, my follow-up is, if TKO can't make those changes to the Ali Act, will you still invest in the sport of boxing? Will you compete in the market?
Listen, if you want to be an asshole, let's do it in private and we can do an interview.
Yes or no?
If you want to showboat, I get it. If you have questions for these 2 that are fighting on Saturday, that's a different story.
Fight.
This isn't a discussion to have at a press conference for these 2 that are going to fight on Saturday, 2 legends. If you want to set up an interview with me and ask me these questions, let's do it one-on-one.
Sounds
and
good.
You can ask me anything you want.
All right. Well, Terrence and Saul, have a good fight.
Yeah, you have a question for these 2?
No.
No? Beat it. Go ahead. Who's next?
We have a ring in the gym, buddy.
Canelo talking about we have a gym in the ring, buddy. Hyping up Dana White, letting him know, man, settle it in the ring with this reporter. We know Dana White get active. Dana White actually challenged a UFC fighter to fight in a boxing match, like sparring. And would you guys believe it was the UFC fighter that ended up backing out since he didn't have great striking skills while Dana White had boxing history? Canelo a fool for that one. But I'll tell you this, I wish he talked to how he walked it with Benavidez and Andrade when they did the same thing to him. Anyways, so who knew? The spotlight for the final press conference between Canelo and Crawford is a reporter asking Dana White about him trying to change the Muhammad Ali Act. Now, first of all, you guys heard me break the news on this channel. However, there's a place and a time for everything. I mean, he had to know. With the follow-up questions, he had a lot of questions. And this is a very great topic. But this is a private conversation. This is an exclusive with Dana White one-on-one, not during the final press conference between Canelo and Crawford. You still in the spotlight. I'm talking about this right now instead of obviously the fight. I don't know if the reporter's main goal was to actually bring attention to the topic, aka TKO wanting to make changes to the Muhammad Ali Act. I wanted to hear the answers to the questions. The only problem is a journalist has to know a time and a place for everything. As far as TKO changing the Muhammad Ali Act, I told you guys, TKO main plan is to take the organizations out of the equations so they can rank their own fighters. I don't see a problem with that. We just saw how the WBC created a franchise belt to allow fighters to duck. They allowed Canelo to avoid Benavidez and Jamal Charlo. They allowed Lomachenko to avoid Devin Haney when he was his mandatory. So I don't see any problem with that for real. However, the main concern is obviously taking the promoters out of the equation and only working with managers. So as a company, TKO can pay the fighters what they think their value is, which we all know fighters today get a lot of money. In the future, that's not going to be the case. And that's the problem Obviously, the reporter had, when he was asking Dana White that tough question, why are you trying to change the Muhammad Ali Act? The obvious answer is control. Do you guys know how much money Turkey have already lost in boxing? Easily over $1 billion. What is he going to get out of it? You think he's trying to invest all this money for nothing? Well, you're highly mistaken. You must not know how business works. He wants a return. How he's going to get that return? By building TKO with Dana White. In the future, the fighters are not going to get paid. What are they getting paid today from Turkey? Perhaps with the big fights, Turkey is going to come save the day. However, for the most parts, majority of the fights, fighters are not going to get paid what they are getting paid today. Why is that happening? It's because the best is not fighting the best, which created this problem of inflation in boxing, where everyone, even retired fighters, want a lot of money to fight. And I'm not talking about like Mike Tyson. I'm talking about like Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Jamal Charlo. At least the Charlo twins have more value. But the point I'm trying to make is the inactive fighters are asking for the same amount of money the active fighters are getting. The name active fighters are getting. And that's why you don't see them active. Promoters cannot afford to keep everyone active. So it's a business model. At the end of the day, what Dana is going to say, I'm going to tell you right now, he's going to be like, look, you invest in boxing, create a company, and let's see how you do. Dana said the same thing in MMA, which means pay cuts are coming soon to boxing. Last but not least, this reporter, though, have been hella critical of Turkey in a wrong way. He's criticizing Turkey for taking the fights overseas. And it's like, what? Even Javante had to check him like, but ain't Crawford versus Canelo in here in the U.S.? He said, yeah, it's in Vegas. And Tank even had to look at him like, bruh, what are you talking about? Obviously, Devin and Ryan fought in New York with all them other guys. Therefore, if you're going to critique someone, at least be fair. And we already know how this reporter critiques the fighters on the coincidental list. Somebody going to be crying come September 13th. I mean, sometimes the criticism could be the wrong freaking criticism. How are you going to criticize Turkey for making the best fight the best? I don't care if they fight on the moon, let alone in Saudi. With that being said, go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe below. And to be continued on the next episode of Akhi, Akhi TV. Peace out. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.